Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful and profound conversations in all of human history, from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And believe me, this isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a dialogue that's going to challenge everything you think you know about your duty, yourself, and even reality itself. So let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the absolute heart of an impossible choice. Seriously, what would you do if the one thing you had to do was also the one thing you found most horrific? Well, that's exactly where our story kicks off. So, picture this. We're on a massive battlefield, moments before a colossal war is about to erupt. But for our hero, the legendary warrior Arjuna, this is so much more than a battle. He's staring down a dilemma that is just completely unthinkable. I mean, he looks out across that field, and who does he see? Not just nameless enemies, no. He sees his own flesh and blood, his cousins, his childhood buddies, and even the men he worships as his teachers, masters like Bhishma and Drona. The very idea of raising a weapon against them, it just fills him with this unbearable, crushing sorrow. And he just breaks. He is completely overwhelmed. You can just imagine it. His eyes are filled with tears, his mind is just a mess of despair, and his famous bow, the Gandiva, it literally slips right out of his hands. He slumps down in his chariot and says it plain and simple, "I will not fight." Now, this is where the story takes a hard left turn. You see, Arjuna's charioteer isn't just some guy. It's the god Krishna in disguise. And you'd think he'd offer some comfort, right? Pat him on the back? Nope, not even close. What Krishna does next is, well, it's a total shock. Instead of a shoulder to cry on, Krishna hits him with this unbelievable rebuke. He calls Arjuna's deep moral anguish shameful despair and a miserable faint-heartedness. It's like a splash of ice water, not just for Arjuna, but for anyone listening. And right there, that's the question that cracks open the whole teaching of the Gita. Why on earth would a god call what looks like noble compassion a form of weakness? Well, Krishna's harsh words aren't just an insult, they're a tool designed to completely shatter Arjuna's limited point of view and force him to see a much, much deeper reality. So to answer that huge question, Krishna is about to drop the central secret of the entire text, the real nature of who we are. He explains the self, or what's called the Atman, and honestly, this one idea changes absolutely everything. You say Arjuna's grief, his whole breakdown, is for the body, this thing that can die, that doesn't last. But Krishna points out that's a huge mistake. The real you, the true self, the Atman that's inside every single person, it's eternal. It's indestructible. It can't be killed because, well, it was never even born to begin with. And Krishna uses this absolutely brilliant metaphor to make it crystal clear. He says our bodies are just like clothes for the soul. We wear them for a while, and when they get old and worn out, the self just puts on a new set. From that viewpoint, the death of a body is no more tragic than you changing your shirt. So from this higher, divine perspective, Arjuna's sorrow is all based on an illusion. He's mourning something that, in the grand scheme of things, isn't ultimately real. Since the true self can't be burned or cut or destroyed, the whole act of killing is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how the universe actually works. Okay, so once you get your head around this radical idea of the self, it leads us to a whole new definition of a word we all think we know: yoga. But let me tell you, the Gita's version of yoga is probably very different from what you'd find in a studio downtown. Now, we mostly connect yoga with physical poses and stretching, right? Hatha yoga. The Gita says, yeah, that's fine, but that's like a beginner's practice. The true yoga that Krishna is teaching here, it's not about twisting your body. It's about cultivating a certain state of mind. It is, in fact, the skill of taking action. So here it is. Krishna's ultimate mic drop definition. Yoga is equanimity. Simple as that. It's the power to stay perfectly balanced, perfectly steady, whether you're winning or losing, feeling pleasure or pain. It's about achieving this profound inner stability no matter what's happening on the outside. So why is this balance, this equanimity so critical? Because the Gita lays out this chillingly accurate psychological chain reaction. It all starts with attachment to a specific outcome. That attachment gives birth to desire. If that desire doesn't get fulfilled, what happens? You get angry. Anger clouds your mind and leads to delusion. And once your reason is gone, you're on a straight path to ruin. Yoga is the way out of that trap. And all of this brings us to the grand finale, the practical, rubber meets the road application of all this incredible wisdom. How do we actually live our lives and do things in the world? Krishna calls it the art of action, or karma yoga. This right here is one of the most famous, most powerful verses in the entire text. It is a complete revolution in how we should approach our jobs, our duties, our lives. The focus has to be 100% on the action itself, not on what you think you're going to get out of it. So here's the art of action in a nutshell. You do your duty. You do it with total focus and with every ounce of excellence you have. And this is the absolute key. You have to completely let go of any claim to the results. You just release them. By staying balanced in victory and defeat, you act without getting tangled up in the sticky web of karma. You act with real, genuine freedom. And that's the question I want to leave you with from this explainer. If you could truly, honestly let go of your attachment to the outcome, to success, to failure, to what other people might think of you, what great thing would you finally do? It's a timeless question, just as alive and urgent for us today as it was for Arjuna on that ancient battlefield.